Right. And what do you think is the difference between fixing accessibility versus implementing it from the start?
So just before I answer it, behind this, there's something that we need to reframe for everyone. A lot of people think that accessibility is about adding features for people with impairments, or that maybe it's maybe not about adding features, but it's about making things accessible. It's about improving the accessibility of something, and it can be done, and believe that it can be done at a later time, i.e., you can do the MVP, and then you can improve the accessibility. If you do this, you're just not going to manage, because it's just not how it works. It's so accessibility is not is there are a few exceptions, but mostly it is absolutely not a separate feature or something that can be done later. It's actually a set of considerations that designers need to think about as they design, and these developers need to think about as they develop, and QA, quality assurance, whoever does the quality assurance needs to think about as they do the quality assurance. It's not icing on a cake. It's more like eggs in a cake. Like, you can put them in as you bake the cake, and then it's easy to make the cake, and the cake is done efficiently and it tastes good. But the egg, you can't leave it for later. You can't try to add the egg after the cake is already baked. It's going to taste awful. It's going to be really hard to put in, and you're going to have a horrible time doing it. So it's a set of considerations that need to be baked into what you design and code right from the beginning and throughout. And if you do this, you're going to have an easy time. If you don't do this, you're going to have a very, very expensive time and painful, and the result is not going to be good. The trick here is so to answer your question more directly now, essentially, if you don't know nothing, if you and your team know nothing about accessibility, and you're going to struggle at the beginning, and it's going to take you much longer. But once you know a reasonable amount, um, one, it takes some time to learn, but once you know a reasonable amount, then doing things following these inclusive practices maybe take you 5% or 10% extra time versus just not caring about it. So it's not significant. That's if you already have a reasonable amount of knowledge, and also if you do these, if you are proactive about these considerations of inclusion as you develop and as you code. That's if you're proactive about them. However, if you're not proactive about them, if you just, oh, the accessibility is going to be done later, we don't have time to do an inclusive design review now, we don't have time to fix that issue, the accessibility issue in the designs now, we'll just worry about it later, we'll do a node later. So the stats for this say that it takes 40 to 100 times more times to fix an issue that you've introduced in the design or in the code versus doing it on the spot. Of course, that stat is very wide, and I have a source for it. Actually, that stat doesn't come just for accessibility issues; it comes for bugs in general. And it really depends, obviously. There are some things where it's not quite true. There are a few, it's a very small minority of things. It's quite easy to fix them later. But most of the time, yeah, it is a huge difference. I'll give you a concrete example because that can sound surprising. Like, so when you develop a user interface, say you want to do a questionnaire in a carousel on a web page. So we have one like this on the website. It's been built 2 years ago, and we try and make it better because it's awful for accessibility. Honestly, it is hard. It is hard to make it inclusive. I've asked the team to spend time, and everyone was daunted to do it. And when they do it, we struggle, really struggle. Why? Well, the design in the first place just should not, like, if you had considered inclusion, or if the designer at that stage had knew how to not unnecessarily exclude people, they would not have designed it like this at all. So later on, it means changing design and hence rebuilding things. But also, just at a technical level, the way you write front-end code for the web is you write the HTML, and then the CSS is like a layer on top of the HTML, and then this JavaScript will be a layer on top of all of that. if you realize that the UI is wrong, you need to change all this. I've already said this, but just even if the design is perfect, but the implementation was wrong, then changing the HTML will mean that you'll break a lot of CSS and break a lot of JavaScript. So that's why it's also important to basically be really informed and careful and avoid things as you design them, as you code them. And if you do that, honestly, you have a nice time with it. It's not a problem. It's only if you leave it for later that it takes a lot of time. It's what we call accessibility remediation that has a reputation of being expensive and painful, and no one wants to do it. But you don't have to do it that way. You can do it inclusively from